So the second speaker, Mr. Sunday Afiko. Mr. Sunday is a legal practitioner with expertise in oil and gas law, investment and consultancy, and also he's a legal advisor to several SME, oil servicing company, and governmental organization. Currently, he's working with law partner and associates. He should be on Skype now, so we'll try to connect with him now, hopefully.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I'm Sunday Uko Afiko. I'm presenting a paper on the topic, Lifting the Veil of Effortless Effort in Research and Discovery in Nigeria, Lessons from Other Regions. Well, this topic became of interest to me because I wrote a poem some time ago when I was preparing to attend this conference, and with your permission, I want to read the poem. The poem is titled Our Wall. Now the poem reads, this beautiful garden, just like the biblical Eden that we are given to live and tend. Its grass is green and clean, its trees flowering and blossom, its sky blue and magnificent. It was friendly and tender. Longevity was guaranteed. Health was secured. However, in our endless desire for satisfaction of our needs, we have plow and plunder. We have sown hard rocks as seed. We have cultivated time bombs. We have pursued excessive explorations of our resources without considerations of the future generations. We have lived beyond our means. We have been unfair to our environment. We are all guilty of this. Industrialization and chemicalization, exploration and exploitation, medication and globalization, alteration and addictions, leading to addictions, perversion and recreation. This we have given attention. Eco-friendly, now only in principle, with scholarly articles sharing academic angles. Implementation, past participle, effortless effort. The way we are, the things we do, if left alone, we will destroy ourselves. Man's inhumanity to humanity, the actuality of our calamity, the possibility of our reality. Well, this was the poem that motivated me to put up this write-up on the effortless effort in research and discovery in Nigeria and lessons from other regions. I have my outline there. I will have the introduction, definition of terms, overview of research on environment in Nigeria, challenges of research implementation in Nigeria, solution to research implementation, and then the conclusion. Well, by way of introduction, I said research is one of the major duties of tertiary institutions, which comprises of university, polytechnic, monotechnics, and colleges of education. Now, presently in Nigeria has 43 federal universities and 47 private universities. Well, all these schools carry out research of one form or the other. But we are looking at, with all the research done by these schools and both the staffs and the students, what was the impact of the research? Are they implemented or they are just mere academic work? As we go on, we will see better. Then I try to do a bit of definition of the concept. As a lifting the veil in company law is the court's refusal to apply the normal rules that the corporation is different person from its members. That's the court tried to say that, okay, the company cannot continue hiding under its corporate personality to perfect evil. Therefore, they want to remove that corporate status so as to see those behind the company and could be able to make them liable for the acts of the company. Going forward, I said that this concept as used in this paper simply means refusing to accept the present precarious and hopeless future of research works in Nigerian educational system and taking practical steps to make them useful. I wouldn't want to bug you so much with all of the definitions, but one thing that is of interest to us here is I'll go to the question, why Nigeria? Why am I putting this research looking at the Nigerian economy? This research gives priority to Nigeria because Nigeria is the most populated black country in the world with a population close to 2 million people. If Nigerian government can get it right by implementing research recommendations, the life of about 2 million people will be better for it. Secondly, Niger Delta in Nigeria is the most polluted part of the world by activities of foreigners who care so much about their countries and will never do what they are doing in Nigeria in their country. And then I went straight to look at research done in Nigeria, overview of research on environment in Nigeria. Now, looking at the beginning of environmental advocacy in Nigeria started far back as 1988, which was traced to the cocoa incident. The cocoa incident was a situation where an Italian company decided to ship their hazardous waste to Nigeria in form of building materials. The said waste was dumped in a local man's backyard somewhere in Cocoa. And before the Nigerian government could realize, and this man was paid $100 per month for dumping the said waste in his compound. And the people started dying in that very community. Before the Nigerian government could spring into action, this became, it was already too late, and there was need for cleanup. They charged the Italian government and all of that. So this was what spurred up environmental research in Nigeria. And amongst that, several persons have made several research. Back as an undergraduate student, I wrote on impact of environmental pollution. In my master's dissertation, I wrote something on arbitrating marine pollution. Well, one funny thing is that all of these researches have been done, and most time the government does not really take any action as per implementing the outcome or the recommendations of this research. So they just end up as paperwork. And even the conference we have today, several vital ideas have been discussed. Now the question is, who is to implement most of these ideas? Who are the enforcing bodies? Who are the end users? We've had several topics being discussed in the conference so far, and we shall be looking at that. I listed some NGOs who have contributed enormously to environmental advocacy in Nigeria. You have Friends of the Earth. You have Friends of the Earth and many other organizations who have done their bit to better the loss of Nigerian people when it comes to environmental advocacy. Well, then I will now go to challenges of research, recommendation, implementation. One of them is that there's lack of collaboration. There's no synergy between the researcher, the research institution, and the end user of the research. For instance, making a research on the principle of making a research on an issue such as pollute and pay principle in environmental law. Any such research will be enforced by the government, whereby the researcher takes all of the effort, makes lofty ideas and lofty suggestions, and such is not communicated or the government is not involved. That research will end up as a paperwork. It will have not yielded any fruit. It won't be enforced because the researcher cannot go to the IC or whichever part to enforce such ideas, except the government is involved. So when there is collaboration, that will enhance a system where you are talking about an issue, and you know that you are talking to the person who is willing and ready to enforce. Then second one is issue of communication. There's no communication of the research outcome or recommendation to the end user. Most time we end up producing a very beautiful piece of work and then send it for publication. The government officials will be so busy that they will not have time to read what we've published. Because they are busy, they can also enforce what they don't know about. And if this was packaged and sent to them, or have a presentation where the government officials or that particular ministry or organization that is to enforce the policy was informed of it, and they communicate together, they were together in that presentation, where they don't need to do further research to know what was the outcome of the research. I feel that would be a better way to pass the information. Then secondly, the researchers present their research in highly technical or complex language that is not subject to easy interpretations to persons that are not of that field. Most of the research are so complex in code and some legal colloquialisms and jargons from the professional field. So most times, common man on the street will not appreciate such research. So these are some of the problems I've highlighted. And then this picture shows the fate of most research done in Nigeria, that most of them end up in the trash, and that is quite very bad. Most intellectual efforts invested by students so far end up being thrown away. The university cannot really keep it so well or try to communicate it to the end users, but they are trashed as waste. So it's a kind of wasted effort. And then I go to the next solutions to the lack of research implementation, which I've spoken about the collaboration issue already, and communication. Also, further steps as to communication. One other aspect of communication is how communication should be done. Where the research is to be done to is addressed to the public. There should be ease of accessibility of the research. The work should be published, and it should be such that can be easily accessed, not to publish it in a way that you need to pay. Like the researchers back here in Africa have the challenge and difficulties of actually accessing material most time from foreign website or domain. So it makes it a whole lot of complex issue to really get reliable data. So this poses a whole lot of issues. So I suggest that research should be such that can be easily accessed. It should use common language, and then it should be presented to the end user. Then better channels of communication where the outcome is for the general public. The following steps should be taken to communicate the research recommendation. One, sponsoring campaign and outreaches. Use of artists to communicate the research outcome. Like over time, I've had to practice as an environmental entertainment lawyer. Now, artists have a certain influence over the masses which listen to them. So if research outcome is used or is given to these artists to make songs or creative lines or such, I feel people will listen to it better. People will appreciate it more. For instance, using the artists like Beyonce to communicate impact of waste pollution in a particular region in America will be well appreciated by the people than a professor of environmental science to speak such or to come to television to talk about that they will feel he's just talking his personal problem. But when an artist like Beyonce is used, that will make people appreciate it more because already she has a certain likeness and loyalty which she enjoys from the people. So people want to listen to her more than any other person communicating that. Then using creative write-up, short stories and movies. Now, movies shape the opinion of many people. So if most of the ideas we get from research is transferred or converted to some sort of short stories or movies, I feel it would be better for people to appreciate it more. People easily assimilate such ideas than making it so complex and technical. Well, I come to the conclusion of my presentation, and I'm optimistic that if the few points I've raised is well considered, and even in this conference that we are having today, if we can have a situation where the government bodies and institutions are invited to listen to most of the deliberations in this conference, it will be more of a better way. The people will appreciate our position more than just having us talk to intellectuals and industry giants without anyone, so to say, that among the implementing body. I appreciate the United Nations for what they are doing, but beyond just United Nations, I wish that government of nations should be part of this, pursuing this goal of sustainability. And with that, I come to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your presentation. We'll try to take a few questions now, if we have any questions. Anyone has any question, please? Yeah, please. Can you speak from your own side? Let's say if you can. Yeah. Try. Just test if he. Yeah, I
see him to come here.
I think it's better to come.
Excuse me, come here, come here.
Yeah.
Come and talk from here.
Just trying to. Yeah.
Olivia, can you speak that one?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. The name was?
Afiko. Yeah.
Sunday Afiko.
Sunday, sorry, that's pleasure meeting you today and speaking to you today.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Pius Ariye. I'm happy to be here, really, and listen to you present your paper. My question is, you have enumerated very important issues concerning pollution in the Niger Delta of Nigeria. You pinpointed why the government of Nigeria in particular is not taking seriously the issues of pollution in the Niger Delta. Conferences like this would have been an avenue for the government to have sent representatives to hear these serious discussions about the pollution, especially in the Niger Delta. I don't know how you guys over there in Nigeria are taking this serious. I mean, I don't seem to see situations or scenarios that are presented to interact with the government seriously, like on daily basis, because it appears all the good research work you guys do is just, as you said, put in the bin. So there's no reaction, there's nothing being done to correct the situation there. How do you want to see further measures taken to present these things to the government? Thank you.
Well, okay. Do I want to see for that taken to the government? Yeah. Can I react to this now, or I take all the questions, then I react to them thereafter?
Yeah, we'll take another questions. We'll take another question if there are, and then you can answer them. Can you please come to the stage, please? Oh. Yeah. We'll just try to take all the questions, and we'll allow you to answer all of them. Because of the difficulty, we don't want to switch on and off all the mics.
Okay. What do I want to see?
Yeah.
Is for the actions. Communicating. What is the step so far to engage the government on this?
Yeah. Please, if you introduce yourself and then.
Okay. My name is Kehinde Ayeni. I'm a Nigerian, and I'm a student of UAL, University of East London. Thank you, Mr. Sunday. I just want to point out something. You gave us some good points, really, but the solution you gave to us, for me, I don't think it's viable. I'm sorry to say that. Because how many professionals listen to such musics? Those songs. Sorry, I don't do this often. So all those songs, I don't see a professional or the government parastatals that can actually implement that will put the solutions in place. They don't listen to all this music. They don't really watch movies. So I think we still have to go back to the government, that we should be able to find a way to reach them, like the man that spoke said, maybe to invite or to make an avenue for them to send their representative to this kind of presentations or conference, will have been a better way of dealing with that. Because I know actually experienced a lot of pollutions that are going on in Nigeria, not even in the Niger Delta area alone. So I think we should find a way to make the government see reasons why they have to implement such.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I'll react to that when I'm answering the questions.
That's fine.
Thank you so much. Any further question, please, before we start taking answers? Yeah, please come to the stage. Yeah. I think, yeah. No, I think.
Speak from here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Njidda Gazama from University of Maiduguri. We thank you very much.
Can you hear us?
People for your. Can you hear me? Yes. Now, what do you think should be the role of Science and Technology Ministry in what you have just said? Because we need a central body, powerful central body, to be able to coordinate and disseminate information. Secondly, can I have to come there? All right, wait for me, I'm coming.
One minute, please, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah, he will come to the stage. The question, yeah. Yeah.
How we have to help young generations, Professor?
Yes. It seems to me he's a promising young generation.
You're still young. Yes. Go ahead, please.
Hello. Mr. Afiko, I was saying, what should be the role of Ministry of Science and Technology of Nigeria in terms of dissemination, in terms of information, in terms of science and technology, even not science and technology, even in terms of public development. Now, we have not seen much that minister has done. The second thing I want to talk to you about is this. The federal government has no business having 50 universities. What are the states doing? The states must have strong universities to be able to do research in the problems of the states. Reminiscent of the state universities of America. Now, the federal government has so many universities, it cannot fund all those universities, but states should have money to be able to support research in terms of the specific problems. For example, what the University of Port Harcourt is doing, what is Uyo University doing, what is Benin doing in the South-South. We must find a way of supporting really serious activities of the universities and the institutions, the institutes of Ministry of Science and Technology. We don't hear anything about them. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Any more questions, please? Yeah. We'll take one more questions, and then we'll allow you to answer, okay? We'll take one more question.
So I can answer the questions now.
Yeah. So that's
Well,
it.
as to what is the state?
One more question, please. Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it. Yeah, go ahead, please. Thank you. Yeah.
Good morning, Mr. Afiko.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, my name is Paul Okafor from University of East London.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to start from the point that you are a lawyer, I understand from your presentation. You are a lawyer, you are an environmental lawyer. So
Yes.
I'm looking at the solution from the point of view of the effectiveness of environmental legislations, and to what extent do you think lawyers in particular should contribute to enforcing, some of these suggested solutions to environmental problems in Nigeria. Because I say this because I understand in Nigeria, like in many African countries, politicians or governments are never disposed to, attending to research works. And the problem we are facing now, I believe, is based on the fact that we are leaving it just to their whims and caprices. So what do you think lawyers could do to, to assist to the enforcement of some environmental legislations, if there are? Because I know there should be some on ground, and there is need for more to that effect, because I think that would help more, particularly in Africa. Because in advanced countries, maybe governments are reasonably sensitive to the plight of the people, but in Africa, I think they need a little of a push. So that is my own observation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Afiko, we got the last question from the panel. One of the panelists.
I got the last question, and I think I want to start from the last one.
We got one more question from the panel, and then you will have the floor will be yours. Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, just a simple question. What are the activists in Nigeria doing about the Niger Delta solution? I don't believe anything is going to come from the government, even if they send representatives, which sometimes they do in conferences. They would say, oh yes, we are glad to be here, we are going to take it on board, and nothing happens. I believe the change we want to see, either in the area of science, the research that goes into being, has to start from students, themselves. Those that put those things, together, a student body, the body of the academics. Because a nation is only as strong as the educational institutions. I believe they should take it further, because some of the people in government are no different from semi-illiterate. So I think you may not be able to answer that question, but it is something that I think you start mobilizing. Thank you.
Okay. So
thank you so much, Akiko. Yeah, 4 questions, please. If you can address them one by one, that would be good. Thank you so much. Yeah.
I want to start from the last, the second to the last, which was on the effect of the environmental legislation. Well, over time I've researched on Nigerian laws. First, the first problem we have is that we have a concessionary system. We have a production sharing contract, which is the basis of our agreement with the international oil companies, the multinationals. And this affects how our laws are enforced. Although we seem to have certain legislation in place that tries to regulate the oil and gas industry, in my LLM dissertation, I made a recommendation that the laws were moribund, the laws were not so effective. However, the few ones that are a bit effective is affected by how it is being enforced by the government, because the government have financial interests in petroleum, and petroleum is the sole regulator of sole export product of Nigerian government. Now, the difference between Nigeria and UK is that UK government, they are more of regulators. In a situation where you have the Minister of Petroleum, who's also the head of DPRO, who was supposed to enforce certain legislation, you see that you cannot be a businessman and also bite your business partners. So that's the fundamental flaws we have in our laws as when it comes to enforcement of environmental legislation against pollution. Like the Oil Refinery Act, which regulates how you run your refinery, how you run pipelines, and most of the issues that relate to the oil and gas industry. These laws are kind of outdated. Most of them are moribund. The sections are no more effective. Like one of the most recent ones is the Water in Navigable Water Act, which provides that you pay as simple as 10 naira for polluting a water course. And the citizens cannot go to court to challenge this. You need the consent of the AG. That's about Section 10 of that law, provided you need the consent of the AG to bring such action. You see that because the government have interest in petroleum, they limit how far citizens can enforce their rights. Now, even when citizens actually go to court, the whole technicalities that berate litigation process affects these laws and how it is being enforced. Even where the judgment is given against the oil company, enforcement becomes another issue. So they don't really get to accept the decision. That's why most communities, like some communities in Ogoni, have taken steps to go as far as coming to UK to enforce action against the oil company. Since the oil companies were more of not complying with the decision of Nigerian courts. And you can see that in most cases, recently, a 2018 case, where a particular community in Ogoni sued Shell Petroleum for what they are doing in their land. The UK court said that the courts have no jurisdiction. In my last dissertation, I made a suggestion that because the court have failed us, because the laws are moribund and outdated and cannot really be enforced, that the way forward is trying to include arbitration clause, so that if all the parties sit down together to rub minds and decide how and what should be done to remedy environmental pollution, at least there will be a way of enforcing those arbitration outside in the UK, since if we can choose London as seat of arbitration, so it will give us a space and a way to be able to bring arbitration to London and enforce it against the company. Since their litigation has failed and you cannot actually come from Nigeria to sue in London court, it raises a whole lot of territorial jurisdiction and other complex legal issues. So I feel arbitration can be enforced anywhere. And I think that is one way. As per the government doing anything so far, it may not work, because until we change our petroleum status, the status of Nigerian government in regards to petroleum operation, where you have to separate the DPRO and the Minister of Petroleum. You have to separate certain offices. Let's have a regulator. And even most times, the worst part of it is that where you have the regulators, they are not experienced enough to regulate the industry. Like in the UK, you have people who have worked in the industry, who are environmental oil and gas experts coming to be regulators. So they have the knowledge. In Nigeria, we don't have such persons. You just have people who get to DPR or Minister of Petroleum because someone knows them or someone have connection with them. So they are just there, not knowing what to do. So they just go to office to fulfill timesheet, without really having the the experience on how to regulate the industry. Most of them, where they need to go offshore, they wait on the oil company to pay for their flight to go to offshore to look at what is happening. Who does that? And like, it won't really work. You can't expect such a regulator to give objective opinion on particular pollution issue. And then on the what are the activists doing about Niger Delta pollution? Well, you have so many persons who have made so much noise, but the truth is that most of the persons making noise about the pollution only cry for themselves, and once they are given certain compensation or money, they keep quiet. That's why we need persons who are more objective, persons who will be able to say the truth to the authority without considering who is involved. Because like that's the challenge we have with most of the activists. They are not being sincere about their intention. Everybody is just after what they can get and not how they can provide a lasting and a sustainable solution to the environment. I did oil and gas law in my master's, but looking at each time we have to write about Nigerian laws, you discover that there's just nothing. As simple as health and safety laws in Nigeria for the oil and gas industry, Nigeria does not have one. So these are a whole lot of issues about Nigerian oil and gas industry. And we don't have persons who can offer the necessary. We have the manpower, but they can't access the offices to make the necessary recommendations or implement the rules. And then the first question.
We're just conscious of time,
what
please.
What is the Ministry of Science and Technology doing in terms of research and other areas?
If you can hear me, we are just conscious of time. If you can please summarize quickly the rest of the answer, please. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Thanks.
So as to what the Ministry of Science and Technology is doing, I feel, yes, we have state universities, and that was the issue I said, issue of collaboration. We need collaboration, like the Energy Institute in UK, collaborate with most UK universities to look at what the students are doing, how far, what are their researches. Like last time when I was in University of Robert Gordon's University, we had a face-to-face interaction with Energy Institute. They came around to check out what we were doing, how much of progress we were making with the courses, energy courses, and this was a nice thing. Because like you can see that the Energy Institute was involved in the training. So I feel like the oil companies around the Niger Delta should take serious the university. They should work hand in hand with the university to make a lasting solution to these problems. And then the very last question about the artists, what I recommended, that was for issues that was not targeted towards the government only. It was just, I said when the research has to do with the general public, and then even the music, even the government officials listen to music, everyone listen to music. But like I know EFCC once used a particular artist to produce a song, which was tend to discourage people from getting involved in Yahoo business. And that when I was doing a research on economic and financial crime, I came across that article. And that was a better way because I felt then they brought in the entertainment industry. Since those that were involved in this act were more of the youth. So it depends on the particular kind of research and the audience we are addressing. That's when you can use the artists. And that's what I think on that issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We're honored actually to have you on board today. Thanks for the interesting presentation discussion. And we hope next year we'll have you on board as well, not just only on Skype.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. This is Dr. Am, if you want to say something.
Afiko, thank you very much. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
And next year, we don't know where we're going, likely Tunisia or we don't know. We will make sure you will be with us in person next year.
Okay, yeah, I'll be in UK by the end of the year, so I think I can move around freely also.
Thank you very much, and we will say bye-bye now, and you can follow us.
Okay, thank you.
You have another big blouse now.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Bye.
So please remember, if we all help and do a little bit, it will make a big difference.